like Andre just read, last week we left off at verse 10 that said, love does no wrong to a neighbor, therefore love is the fulfillment of the law. Like we saw last week, everything is rooted and grounded in love. Love of God, love of others. What are we told in the scriptures? How should this love be? We must worship God, how? In the Spirit and in truth. So, just going through the motions to seem like superficially we're doing the right thing, we seem like we're taking the right steps or saying the right words, does not impress God. He's looking at the heart. Am I prideful? Am I genuinely humble? Am I repentant? Why do I do what I do? What is my motivation? What is bringing me to church? What is making me preach? What is making me sing? What is making me serve? What is making me give? What is making me help? What is my motivation? Is it the truth? That's what God cares about. More than what you do. You see, as people, we think God is more interested, just like people are, as to how we're seen from outside. Oh, Steve is doing this, Narcissus is doing that, John is doing that, the other person is doing this, the other person is doing that. God doesn't care about what you do. God cares about why you're doing it. Why are you here in church? Are you here because you got used to coming to the Armenian Brotherhood Bible Church? Or, like some of you grew up in this church? Or are you here because you want to hear a word from the Bible? Are you here because you want to sustain your faith? Are you here because you want to hear something from the Lord to change your life? You know, my responsibility, as it says, as it's been said, is to comfort the afflicted and afflict the comfortable. Some of you look comfortable in your faith, very smug and prideful. We are all in danger of that. God looks at the heart. Why are we here? It's very important. Everything else is secondary. Am I here for the right reasons? Am I serving for the right reasons? Am I doing the things that I'm doing for the right reasons? Why? Do this, knowing, verse 11, the time that it is already the hour for you to awaken from the deep sleep. For now the salvation is nearer than when we first believed. In a simpler way, Paul is saying, live the way you're supposed to. He explained it to us beginning from chapter 12 that said, therefore I urge you, brethren, by the mercies of God, present your bodies as a living and holy sacrifice, and keep changing by the transforming of your mind. Do this, serve with the right motives, be subject to the government, pay your taxes, don't lie, don't cheat, and love your neighbor as yourself. Do all this. He's bringing it down to this point. Do all this. Why? Because it's time to wake up, he's saying. Some of us are asleep, unfortunately. We are too comfortable. We think this is all there is to be in the Christian life. You know, there was a survey about 10 years ago. I found that most of the moral points that is believed by atheists are the same as Christians. So how are we any different than an unbeliever? Christianity is not only morality, motivation, heart. Why am I doing things? What's moving me? Is it the love of God? Is it the love of the neighbor? Love of the neighbor will come because of love of God. Christianity is not only being a good moral person. There are a lot of atheists, Buddhists, Muslims that are a lot nicer than you guys and me. That doesn't make us Christian. What makes us Christian is our motivation. What's propelling us? That's why he says it's now time to wake up. What happens when we're sleeping? We're vulnerable. We could be hurt. We can't defend ourselves. It was interesting to find this week that dolphins sleep with one eye open. I did not know that. Apparently, the way God made them, since they're mammals, they're not fish, they need to go up and get air. And the way they were made, one side of their brain shuts off. When the right side of their brain shuts off, left eye closes and that part sleeps, but the other parts are awake and watching and thinking when to go up and get more air, and vice versa. That's how so they're always alert, they're always watching. They're always going. So there is a lesson there for us to be alert and watching. How many times we're told in the New Testament, be alert. Don't fall asleep. We are in danger as Christians to be asleep. Martin Luther wrote a parable of sorts about the devil talking to his minions, his fallen angels. And one of them came up, said to Satan, I had this Christian group walking through the desert. I called in a big wind and they all died of thirst and heat. And he was so smug and happy about himself. And the devil told him, so what? You killed their body, but their soul is still saved. This makes no difference for us. Another one jumps in. Well, there was a group of Christians in this ship. And I sent this big storm and they all drowned. He said the same thing. This is nothing to be happy about. Their soul is still saved. This means nothing to us. And then another one jumps up and says, I was working on this Christian and finally I had him fall asleep. He doesn't care about these things. He's numb to everything that's Christian. He said, yes, this is what we need to do. He praised them. There was this glorious joy in hell because he was able to get a Christian to be ineffective. He was asleep. He was numb. The Greek word is the same Greek word that's used for the sleepy, is hypnotized. You know what happens when you're hypnotized? You're numb. And as Christians, we need to be alert about these things. I'm going to come back to the same thing. Why do I do what I do? Judge your motives. Don't lie to yourself, because we can't lie to God. But judge your motives. Think about why you do what you do. Is it genuine? Is it love? Or is it because it's on a list of things I must check? Why do I do what I do? One of the reasons is because the day is here. It's nearer. Now, Paul wrote this 2,000 years ago. How much nearer it is today. Look at the world. How dark it is becoming. Just yesterday morning, Saturday morning, I just told this to Pat earlier before the service. I'm watching a cooking show, I believe, Saturday morning. A commercial comes up. It's a medicine commercial. I could have had my kids with me watching the same program. I wouldn't think anything of it. By God's grace, they weren't there. But in this commercial, the footage is entirely about homosexuality, and we are seeing two men being intimate with each other. Saturday morning. And if you say something against it, guess what? This is hate speech. You cannot even call the TV station and say, I don't want to see this kind of stuff. Look at the world we're living in. It's time to wake up. Spiritually wake up. Judge our motives. Refresh. Reboot. And then look at everything else that's going on in the world. Do you know that we are at the brink of nuclear war? Most people don't know. Most news is not talking about it. We're at the verge of a nuclear war, and nobody knows anything about it. Nobody says anything about it. We're living in a very dangerous time. We need to wake up as believers. Because He's coming. You can hear the footsteps. So, because He's coming, do we hurry? No. But because He's coming, we do the right things for the right reasons. We are all called to do something. We are all called to be someone. We are to do what we are called to do. As Christians, as believers, as servants, as husbands, wives, employees, students, bosses, whoever you are, whatever your calling is. Everything else should be secondary at this time now. It's so difficult, I know, in this world of paying bills and making sure kids have this and that, and obligations and responsibilities and expectations and the plans and the short-term plans and the long-term plans. But in the midst of all that mess, He should come first. You will not have any other gods before me, He said, right? Everything we do, everything we plan, everything we desire, hopefully, Lord willing, should be motivated by that and reminding that time is at hand and we are asleep. It's time to get up. It's time to shake the dust off. When you wake up, what do? Well, I know I do. I drink coffee. Why? Because I want to be alert. I want to get going. I don't want to go through the day like a zombie. Why? We have to be alert to get things done. To make a difference, you need to be all in. If you look at anybody who is anybody in this world, if you look at anybody who has accomplished anything worth anything, you will see that they were all in. They put all of themselves into that venture. Michael Jordan put all of himself to basketball. Business people work, if they come to this point, you think of Elon Musk. He probably sleeps 3 hours a day, right? He's all in to what he's doing. You look at people in the arts. They're all into that lifestyle. 100% committed. That's how we need to be when it comes to our faith. We have to be all in with every aspect of our lives. Not only at work, not only at church. As soon as we walk out of here, where we are at work, in school, with friends, with family. I get it. It's difficult with family. I know. We all have family that we're given. I know. But we have to deal with it and move beyond it. And in church too. church is a family, and we all have different types. You just work with what you have, all right? You cannot expect a perfect family, a perfect church family, perfect anything, but you give it all. You know, as it said in the sports vernacular, they say, he left everything on the field, or he left everything on the court. That means he did everything he could possibly do to win this game or match. Same thing needs to be said about us. We must leave everything here on earth. All our endeavor, our drive, our passions, our energies. The night is almost gone and the day is near. We are living in the night season. It's dark out there, but it's almost gone. Footsteps are near. He's coming. Our salvation is at the door. You know what the problem with most of us Christians are? We're trying to live heaven on earth. We're trying to achieve heaven-like peace and security on earth. It's never going to be here. No matter how hard you work, how much you commit to the worldly way of life, whatever you have will never give you the same peace and security as the Lord will. And that's not going to be here. Jesus said, in this world you will have tribulation. No matter what you do, how you do it, how hard you do it, yes, you will achieve some things, but it will always be incomplete, imperfect, half-broken. Think of all the things you wanted to achieve in your life and you got there. Don't you find that once you got there, you realize that it wasn't all you thought it would be? There's always more. There is always other things. There is always other levels of success. That complete peace will only be in eternity, not here. Let us behave properly as in the day. There is a comparison being made here by Paul. He's comparing night and day. And especially when he was living, nights were really dark. I mean, today we have street lights, houses have electricity, the parking lots are lit, our cars have lights, we could see. In those days, if you walked out at night, you saw nothing. It was pitch black. Even if you had a lantern in your hand, you probably saw like 2-3 feet ahead of you, and that's it. In front of you, sides of you, behind you were pitch black. You had no idea what was happening. That's why a lot of bad things happened at night. And to this day, a lot of bad things happen at night. But there is an analogy that's being used to come to the light. There is nothing good that comes out of darkness. There's an old saying. It says, mishap of the day is better than the blessing of the night. Bad things happen at night. When you're in the light, you're in a different place. Let us behave properly as in the day, not in carousing, not in drunkenness. Carousing, I want to explain here. The word here means, I don't know if growing up in Turkey, this used to happen once in a while. This doesn't happen much here, but some of you come from different countries that might happen to you. You might have this experience. It would be late at night, and you would be asleep, or almost going to sleep, and you would hear these shouting, singing, people walking on the street, half drunk, screaming, right? That's the word carousing here. And these wild parties, these out of control situations, he's saying, don't be a part of these things. Drunkenness, well, that's clear, just being drunk. Not in sexual promiscuity. Sex is designed by God to be between one man, one woman during marriage, period. There is no exceptions. Anything outside of that is a sin. Sensuality. Sensuality is a mindset. Get rid of the sensual mindset if you go there. Not in strife and jealousy. It's interesting he put strife and jealousy at the same level of sexual sins and drunkenness. Usually we don't think about pride, jealousy, and strife in these veins, but they are. They're sins. And they're equally as bad. So check for that. But, he says, now this is when he's going to bring it all together and show us how we're going to do it. But put on the Lord Jesus Christ and make no provisions for the flesh in regard to its lust. Take this thing off of you. This sinful thought, these pressures that you have, these temptations you might be having, just shake it off because the time is here. Night is about to end. We are about to hear the trumpet. You know what needs to happen right before the rapture? Nothing. Everything has been done. It could be any moment. It could be now. It could be 50 years from now. But it could be now. Am I ready? Are my motives pure? Why I do what I do. I keep repeating this, and I will probably until I die, because this is the core of our faith. It's not superficial pictures. It's the heart and the motivation. Why I do what I do. He's saying, put on the Lord Jesus Christ and make no plans for the flesh. Whatever that's stumbling you, whatever is making you fall, whatever you're weak against, do not make, if you're an alcoholic, don't throw a birthday party at a bar. If you're trying to diet, don't go into a bakery. If you have a substance abuse problem, don't go hang out with other people that have the same problem. Don't be vulnerable to those things. But more importantly, this is the time, and like he says, take off the old flesh in Ephesians and put on Jesus Christ.